News Talk 94.5 WPTI, 96.7 FM WTOB. You're listening to the Wealth Guardian Show with Doug Ray, helping you retire the job and keep the paycheck. This morning you have Brice Payne and Garrett Ray in the studio, and we are talking about the beauty of simplicity when planning for retirement. How you doing, Brice?
Garrett, I'm doing well. How are you?
I am doing well. I am ready. I'm starting to feel it a little bit. We're getting closer and closer to football season, so
I see. So you don't always wear the jersey for the radio show. I always wear my jersey, but I guess that is a little bit because you're getting in the spirit of things.
I had to bust it out here. It's time.
Very good. Yeah, we always wear our Wealth Guardian garb here on the radio. If you ever want to see that, remember that the shows aren't just on the radio. They are also on our YouTube channel at the Wealth Guardians YouTube channel. So feel free to check out these awesome Keep the Paycheck 59 and a half numbered football jerseys of the Wealth Guardian.
That's right.
All right, Garrett, let's go ahead and do our Wealth Guardian service salute as we want to do here every weekend morning. We want to take a minute and just thank those who put on the uniform and the families who help support behind the scenes of those who put on the uniform. It is more often than not, unfortunately, a thankless job. And so we just want to take a second here and thank you for doing what you do for the Stars and Stripes and Old Glory there. So I'll salute to you. Thank you for that.
Absolutely.
Thanks for your service as well. And Doug served in the Navy just like you did. Though you were in the submarines, he was tracking the submarines.
Yeah, I was on the land. I was a dirty CB. So, yeah.
All right, well, let's go ahead. And before the other thing that we do here before we get started into the meat and potatoes of the show is we like to run a little segment that we call Better Get to Know Your Wealth Guardian's Advisor. And I throw a question to Garrett, and you just kind of answer it, and I'll answer it as well. And we'll throw it out there to you as well, just so you can get an idea of who we are here at the Wealth Guardians. And the question we wanted to ask each other this week is, and I'll ask it to Garrett. Garrett, what was the first album you ever owned?
Yeah, the first album I ever owned was probably something of, Dad's that I just like swiped. But I have a vivid memory of the first record album I ever purchased with my own money.
Yeah.
It was when this store called Best Buy was a new thing.
Yeah.
And it was 1996, and I made my dad wait in line with me for the release of this album. It was the Smashing Pumpkins, Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness. So it was a dual album, actually, double album. So, being a kid who grew up in the early and mid-'90s, obviously, the grunge and kind of that style of rock was all the rage back then, and certainly shaped my youth.
I was in the Peace Corps when that album came out, and I had my best friend send me that album, and it's an excellent album.
It's
stood the test of time.
I was about to say it's still holding up.
Still holding up. Yep. My first album was Paul McCartney and the Wings, Pipes of Peace.
Okay.
That was a great album. Still have it. Don't have that exact. Mine was on vinyl though.
There you go.
Cassettes were really good.
Can't go wrong with McCartney though.
No, you can't. Absolutely. Yeah. All right, well, what are we talking about here this week in our first segment, Garrett? The beauty of simplicity when planning for retirement. What's this about?
Yeah, and really what this is trying to break down is that, planning for retirement, while it is, a huge hurdle, a huge goal for most people, when you actually start getting into it, it doesn't have to be overly complicated. It doesn't have to be this super duper complex plan that requires, your wealth advisor, an estate planning attorney, all this stuff. It certainly can. But if you do the basics right, you can get a lot accomplished and be better off than most. And so, the first segment we're talking about here is, what are some of the things that people seem confused about or overwhelmed about when it comes to retirement planning? One of the first things that occasionally we'll get questions on is the topic of life insurance.
Yes. Do
I need it? If so, how much? What type of life insurance should I have? This is kind of a personal belief of mine, but if you are insurable, meaning you don't have some major medical issue, it's always prudent to have a certain level of life insurance. You never know exactly what could happen to you, particularly if you have dependents or a loved one who's dependent on you at least partially by your contribution to society and you being gainfully employed and that sort of thing. Then it's in your best interest to have some measure of life insurance. That's probably a private conversation between you and your spouse or your partner of how much that needs to cover, but you should at least have a basic term life insurance. If you want to get into the more complicated versions of life insurance, whole life, universal, that sort of thing, that would likely you would benefit from having a conversation with a financial advisor around that. But just if you're talking about this basic term life to cover your working years when you have dependents at the house, definitely a key move, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, and as you said, people seem confused and overwhelmed by this. A common question that I get, and again, folks, imagine that you're sitting through the planning process with your financial planner, and they're getting to understand your situation, whatnot. At that stage of the game, Garrett, one question that I often get is, we have this term life insurance, or we have this life insurance that we're paying for. It's X amount of dollars a month. We've had it for X amount of years.
Yeah.
Is this something we should continue to pay into? So they have no idea.
Right.
And one of the first questions that I ask them is, whenever you have insurance, think of it as there was some problem that you had that you were trying to solve.
Exactly.
What was the problem that you were trying to solve with having that health insurance, life insurance? Does that problem still exist today? Is that life insurance still helping solve that problem? A lot of times it doesn't. My wife and I were working, or she was staying home raising the kids. The kids were 5 and 6 when we got it. I wanted to protect them in case something happened to me, meaning the main income person.
Yep.
And now the kids are grown, and I'm thinking of retiring as well. There's not really income situation. There's not all these expenses. The mortgage is paid off. So if you look at it from that term, it's an easier question to solve, and it becomes a little bit clearer on how do you solve that problem. So if that's something that's overwhelming you, should I keep paying for this life insurance? Do I have enough or whatnot? Let a financial planner help you figure that out, because they understand what kind of problems exist out there and what kind of solutions various types of life insurance solve those various problems.
Absolutely.
And, long-term care is a whole other type of insurance that we could talk about as well. It's some people feel very overwhelmed about thinking of long-term care. And my analysis as to why is what you are doing with long-term care is you are facing a real possibility that you might need to be looked after and not mobile, or not being able to take care of yourself at a certain point in the future.
Sure.
Nobody wants to think of that. They don't.
Yeah.
I've been healthy my whole life. I don't think that's a reality, or that pains me to fast forward and think of something like that. So I don't want to have that conversation, even though they know probably in the back of their head they should have that conversation. Yeah,
I mean, you're basically buying insurance that you may not have complete freedom of your life, essentially, and you may have to be looked after by a skilled professional that's in the medical field, and that is always something that's really uneasy to talk about and think about. But we run into so many cases where, that happened to my uncle. Yes. He was in a facility for 2 years, or my mother went through that before she passed, and she needed care for 3 years, and it was really hard on the family. Well, if you just went through that difficult struggle with your own mother, maybe we think about that possibility for ourselves. And again, it's never a comfortable conversation. It's just a practical one.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So. All right. So that's the first one we want to talk about. And if you're just tuning in, you're listening to the Wealth Guardian Show with Doug Ray. In the studio this morning is Garrett Ray and myself, Brice Payne. And we're talking about what are some of the things that people seem confused or overwhelmed by when planning for retirement. So we talked about life insurance there. And Garrett, I think another one that people feel overwhelmed or confused by is when they look at their portfolio and they see dozens of mutual funds.
Yep.
More often than not, they couldn't tell me or you the difference between one mutual fund and the other. They see 20 or so in their overall portfolio. Yep. They don't understand the codes behind them,
the tickers,
nicknames or whatnot. So they don't know what they're invested in.
Yep.
And that's overwhelming to them.
Right.
In short, we here at the Wealth Guardians believe that there are better investment options out there than mutual funds. Think of it this way, folks. Mutual funds are designed for convenience. If you're going to do your own investing and you don't watch the markets very much, or you don't know much about the markets, a mutual fund can be a very convenient, easy way to have a diversified portfolio. If you have a financial planner or investment advisor running things for you, do you really want to be paying them on top of the mutual fund costs for convenience?
Right.
Probably not. You probably want a more professional type of portfolio done. And mutual funds, you drop those out of the situation. It's a good way to save yourself in fees.
Absolutely.
And so, if you are out there and you're thinking, I'm getting close to my retirement here and I am confused about insurance, I am confused about what is in my portfolio, this all seems very overwhelming to me, well, then you probably want to sit down with a financial planner, because once you retire, that's kind of a bridge that you can't unburn in a lot of cases.
Yeah.
And you want to make sure that you are doing things right. I mean, heck, if you're going to go on a road trip for a week, you probably have some kind of map of how you're getting from there to here, and you've made plans on where you're going to stay and for how many nights. Your retirement is a huge, huge roadmap. It's a trip that's going to last you, hopefully, 20, 30 years. So you want to make sure that you're doing everything correctly. And that's what sitting down with a financial planner, especially one who's a fiduciary, especially one who are retirement income certified professionals like we are here at the Wealth Guardians, encourage you to sit down with us. There's no cost or obligation to do that. And we will help make things as least confusing for you as possible. And our phone number is 336-391-3409. That's 336-391-3409. You can also reach out to us at thewealthguardians.com. No cost or obligation to sit down with us. And, the worst thing that can happen is that you learn a few things about what you need to consider for retirement.
There you go.
All right. Well, that's the first segment out already. So we're going to run right into this trivia question, and then we will come back after that. So, Garrett, are you ready?
I hope so.
All right. On August 10th, 1874, our 31st president was born. Here's a few clues about who this person was. He's a self-made millionaire businessman. He was orphaned at 9, having been born to a Quaker blacksmith. He spoke 8 languages, and he and his wife would speak Chinese at the White House when they wanted to have a conversation off the record, so to speak, or they didn't want anyone else to know about them. His nickname is the Great Humanitarian. The last clue I'll give you is that he won his presidency the first time he ran by an overwhelming victory, but he lost the second time when he was running for re-election with just the same overwhelming victory loss. So who is our 31st president? Okay. That's his 150th birthday this week. All right, well, stay tuned. Stick around for the answer to that question, to that trivia question that we just threw out at Garrett there. This is Brice Payne. With me is Garrett Ray. The show is The Wealth Guardians, helping you retire the job and keep the paycheck. And this is News Talk 94.5 WPTI. And this is 96.7 FM WTOB. News Talk 94.5 WPTI. 96.7 FM WTOB. Welcome back to the Wealth Guardian Show, where we help you retire the job and keep the paycheck. I'm Brice Payne in the Wealth Guardian studio this morning, along with Garrett Ray. And in this second segment, we're going to discuss what are some of the first steps that most people need to take to simplify their retirement plan. Not talk about, but actually take to simplify their retirement plan. Now, we asked Garrett a trivia question, and we threw it out there to you as well. And before we get to that question, I've got 2 more quick questions for you. Are you planning to retire at some point in the near future? Okay. Have you met with a retirement income certified professional who's also a fiduciary to help you make sure that you are doing everything that you need to retire in the most efficient way as possible? And if you have not, I hereby invite you to take us up on a complimentary review of your current situation. So as certified retirement planning specialists, we're going to put together a customized written plan with strategies for portfolio allocation, income distribution, Social Security filing, and tax efficiency, with the additional benefit of often reducing both the risk and fees of your current plan. So if you put aside at least $400,000 and you want to take us up on this no-cost, no-obligation review, call us at 336-391-3409. That's 336-391-3409. Or you can also go to our website, thewealthguardians.com. That's thewealthguardians.com to learn more. Let us show you in black and white how to retire the job and keep the paycheck. All right, let's go ahead and get to that trivia question now. So, Garrett, let's repeat this for you, and you've had a few minutes to think about it. We have the 150th birthday this week on August 10th, 1874. Our 31st president, Republican, was born, and I gave you some clues as to who he might be. He's a self-made millionaire businessman. He was an orphan at age 9, having been born to a Quaker blacksmith. He spoke 8 languages, including Chinese, who he'd speak frequently with his wife. His nickname is the Great Humanitarian, and he won an overwhelming victory the first time he ran for president, but the second time he lost with just an overwhelming amount. Who is, Garrett, our 31st president?
Yeah, I had 2 names in mind that this could be. I don't have a rock-solid answer. I want to say this is Calvin Coolidge.
Oh,
Not it, huh?
What was the other one you were going to?
Woodrow Wilson.
Oh, no, not him either. So let's give out a few other clues here. He was a Stanford graduate in geology.
Okay.
And that's where he earned all of his money. And his name is featured in the theme song to All in the Family.
That doesn't.
Archie Bunker's.
That means nothing.
Nothing to you.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah,
Well, I think for a lot of people out there listening, they're now going through that song in their head. And they probably right about now, if they keep doing the song, Mr. We Could Use Man. There they go. They just got it. Everyone out there just got it, except Garrett's a little too young.
Yeah, no clue.
Herbert Hoover.
Okay.
Herbert Hoover.
Okay. There we go.
There you go. Brice got that one.
Yes.
Okay. I would have got it from that last clue. I don't know why I would have gotten it from all the other ones. But yeah, how about that? A Stanford graduate. He was an orphan at 9, having been born to a Quaker blacksmith. Hoover this weekend is celebrating his 150th birthday.
Okay.
So happy birthday to you, President Hoover. All right, let's go back now and see what else is overwhelming for people who are planning for retirement. So some of the first steps, I think people get overwhelmed a little bit by, I don't even know where to begin in planning for retirement. So, that can be kind of a paralyzing thing. I don't even know where to start. I put money aside my whole life, but I'm not going to be getting a paycheck anymore, so I'm not putting money aside anymore. In fact, I'm going to have to start taking distributions. If not sooner, I do at least at age 73 because I've got my money saved up in 401k or an IRA. Sure. This is all very overwhelming to me, and I'm confused. So we want to help you figure out what are some of the first steps that most people need to take to simplify their retirement plan. These are easy steps. These are not hard.
Sure.
The first one would be consolidating accounts.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's you'd be surprised at how many folks we talk to, and they've got 3 and 4 different IRAs. They might have 5 and even 6 401ks from previous jobs that are just all sitting out there in the ether. And if you're trying to juggle between 7, 8, 9, 10 different accounts, how often are you regularly checking up on the performance of those? Have you, has it been 15 years since you last looked at that 401k that's sitting out there? Is it invested in allocations that even match your goals now?
Right.
And so that's one of the first things that we'll do in the planning process is
take an inventory
of what we got and start asking just some questions. Hey, when's the last time that, you checked out a statement in detail on
right? Why are your monies here as opposed to there? Why do we have 4 different IRAs? What is this one invested in versus this one? We've got some fun questions that we post up here on the radio wall. And one of them is your IRA or Roth or non-qualified account advisor aware of the mutual funds in your 401k? And then the second question on there is why not? Because more often than not, if you've got an advisor, you've got an IRA out there and your advisor has been managing it. And if you ask the question, because the manager can't manage your 401k in most cases. So ask the question, is your advisor who's managing your IRA, is he aware of the mutual funds that you have in your 401k?
Right.
Most people would say, no, I don't know how he would be unless I sent him that statement.
Yep.
Wouldn't it make sense that he knows that?
Sure.
I mean, if he's going to, that 401k should be working in synchronicity, in a way of speaking, with all of your other investment accounts. So if he's not aware of what you've got over there, how is it that he's making a proper decision on how your IRA should be allocated? So let's consolidate those accounts and see, maybe it doesn't go down to one IRA, but maybe you want some precious metals in there or whatnot, and your regular IRA holder, custodian can't hold that. So you've got that at a special parking place. But, if you've got 4 or 5 IRAs out there, probably not necessary. So that's step one. Let's consolidate our accounts so it's easier for us to get a hold of everything. Garrett, we've had people come in here who have literally 20 different accounts.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it happens all the time.
All the time, yep. All right, so then so let's say that we consolidated the accounts. What's another first step that we could have somebody go through so that they're getting ready for retirement? And that would be organizing their statements, policies, and other paperwork. Yeah. Organization.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, it's, and the two kind of go hand in hand. If you haven't consolidated your accounts, then you're probably not very organized. But even if you have, just say 2, 3, even 4 accounts, Are you paying attention to the statements that are coming in? Or do you have them readily accessible? Have you logged, if it's, we're in the modern era now, so have you logged in with your username and password to whatever financial institution your accounts are at? Or do you need to reset that password because you created it 7 years ago and now forgot? Just staying on top of not saying that you have to log in every single day, or that you have to pore over the statement every single month when it comes in. But knowing where it is, being able to, be responsive to basic questions about your finances is something that we highly encourage. And then going through our planning process, we try for all of our clients to keep things as organized and as, relatable and upfront as possible, so that as they go through life and they continue to have questions that are inevitably going to come up because life happens to us all. Oh yeah, here's where I can access that statement.
Yeah.
Here's what Brice and Garrett talked to me about. And they at least have a reference point to get started and just do that sanity check. Am I still on track? Am I comfortable with where my accounts are? Because so many people are just getting started because they don't even simply know the basics. And that can be unnerving if you're in that spot.
I would say 4 words for you out there. If you're ready to get organized, 4 words. 3-ring binder. Get a 3-ring binder and just put the hole punches in it and save, if not your last 3 or 4 statements, at least your most recent statement.
Mm-hmm.
That way, and Garrett, you and I can tell when we sit down with somebody for the first time, if they brought in a 3-ring binder, because we give them this list of all the things that they should bring into that first appointment, so that Social Security statements, pension statements, whatnot. One of those things is a recent statement of all the various accounts that you have.
Sure. For
somebody who had already had that put together and they just brought in that 3-ring binder, more often than not, what is their occupation?
Typically, it could be an engineer.
It's most often
or an accountant. Yeah.
Yes, one of those two.
Yeah.
Exactly, a numbers person.
Yeah.
Hey, it's not that hard. It's really not that hard. But if you haven't done it or you've never done it, boy, it seems like an overwhelming task. But once you get into it, I guarantee you that you could. If you didn't know where your passwords were, let's say that you've got 4 different accounts out there, 4 different custodians.
Sure.
You could get the passwords. You could get it logged into those accounts probably within a half an hour.
Sure.
You could go straight to the documents section of each one of those.
Print off your statement.
Print off your most recent statement, or at least save it as a PDF. Boom, you could get that done in 45 minutes. If you only have one account, you could do it much easier than that. One custodian?
5-10 minutes.
Yeah, 5-10 minutes. So it is not that complicated of a step. All right, I think we got time for one more quick one here. Well, we do want to mention, Garrett, our social media. We don't always mention it here, but we do have a bit of a social media presence out there that is growing. So let's just take a minute and talk about the various places that you can find us online. Now, as I said earlier, the Wealth Guardians radio show, you can hear us on the radio right now. You're listening to us like you do most weekend mornings. But this radio show right now, the very one that you're listening to, is also available to watch Garrett and Doug and myself do these things. And that is on our YouTube channel, The Wealth Guardians. In fact, we've got, almost 100 of them out there.
Yes, we've got a pretty good catalog.
Good catalog of those.
You can also catch us on Facebook.
There you go, Facebook.
The Wealth Guardians on Facebook. And then we're recently and newly on Instagram, The Wealth Guardians NC, as in the state we're in, North Carolina. The Wealth Guardians NC on Instagram. So you can catch us there.
Absolutely. So if you want to see more about what the Wealth Guardians have to say, we don't just do this radio show. We actually have another program. If you haven't seen it, you might want to. It's called The Vault.
Yep.
And those are quick little 5, 10, 15-minute segments on one specific subject. And that's never going to be on the radio. Those are just, you got to go to our YouTube channel. And alongside these radio shows, you'll see the Vault episodes there. You could watch one after the other. We've probably got close to 100 of those as well.
Yeah, it's a deeper dive on like one specific financial topic.
Right. Yep. So that's another place that you can find us. So, of course, our website, thewealthguardians.com. Boy, have we got lots and lots of helpful information and tools and resources, from calculators to
just different white
papers, pamphlets on various things, anything that has to do with retirement planning. We've got it on our website. So you can go to thewealthguardians.com if you want to see what upcoming seminars that we've got, either for our clients or for the general population out there. We always have those scheduled, so you can see, oh, look, they're doing one on long-term care.
This week?
I feel overwhelmed by thinking about long-term care. Let me go ahead and attend that and see if what the Wealth Guardian says has me feeling a little less worried about that subject, or maybe make me feel like, oh, I really do need to focus on this. At any rate, there's lots of ways that you can catch up to us. But our phone number, the easiest one of all, 336-391-3409. Anyway, Garrett, that's that's all the time we got this week.
Yeah, it is. It goes by quickly.
Well, thank you for joining us. We do appreciate you spending a little bit of your weekend with us. We do hope that the rest of your weekend is everything that you want it to be. This is Brice Payne along with Garrett Ray, the show's The Wealth Guardians, helping you retire the job and keep the paycheck. And I want to remind you, sound financial plans, they don't create themselves. This is News Talk 94.5 WPTI. This is 96.7 FM WTOB.